All right, YouTube land. I've got something I've been wanting for a while. And since I saw that it won Blade of the Year at the Blade Show, and the manufacturer has gotten several Manufacturer of the Year awards, and I bought one of their other knives and thought it was pretty cool. So I'm on a little bit of an Italian knife kick lately, but this is one I kind of held off on until my channel hit 1,000 subscribers. So by the way, like and subscribe. If you like this stuff, you find it interesting, make a comment, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. But I finally did hit 1,000 subscribers, which means I was able to apply for monetization. Now, I have my doubts on whether I'll get it or not. About half of my content is motorcycle related and stuff like that, some video game stuff. But because a lot of my content is related to firearms or knives, I have a feeling that YouTube is going to say, well, you don't really follow our guidelines because, even though these are legal products and I'm showing them in a legal and responsible manner, and, I'm not promoting or selling anything. I'm just saying, hey, here's some stuff I got. Here's some reviews. So for other people that are in the decision-making process of like, hey, does this make sense for me? Is this a better deal than that? Might get some value, because that's partly how I decided on what things to buy over time. But I have a feeling that YouTube will probably shaft me on that. But we'll see. But it doesn't hurt, so like and subscribe. But in any case, I waited until I hit 1,000 subscribers, and then I treated myself to this. So what we have today, and I'll tell you why I've been going down this road before I get into which model it is I've been liking some of the Italian knives that I've got. So I've got some from H.WAYL. So I've got my Gecko. I've got my Tasso. I've got my LionSteel Kur, K-U-R. And then I had another one that I thought was Italian, basically because it was H.WAYL, and because of the price, I assumed it was one of their Italian imports. But as I researched this, I found that this is actually made in China. Now, this is a $180 knife. It's a PVD-coated S35 VN blade. It does have ball bearings, and we've got G10, and it is a full titanium frame lock. I mean, this is a really nice quality, very beefy, really nice knife. But apparently that's Chinese, not Italian. So, hey, another kudos to the Chinese, because they actually are making some good stuff these days. But anyway, all right. So taking that out of the mix, I do like a lot of the Italian knives for reasons I've done in other videos. Just the way that they bevel, and just the quality, the designs, the way that everything is really nicely put together. It's just a really nice quality and attention to detail. And I see that on the Gecko. I've always liked that. The Tasso has a lot of that as well. And I did make the adjustment. I think if you've watched any of my other videos, I've talked about how that point here, the G10 was real thin, and it basically was cutting into my fingers a little bit if I choked up on it. So I just took a Dremel and went, and because it's G10, when you do that, then you just take your rag that maybe has a little bit of oil in it because you've been wiping down knives and guns for years, and you just wipe the G10. You can't even tell that it was done. That's the beauty of G10, is you can machine it, mill it, file it, and do stuff to it. And then you just wipe it, even just with the natural oils in your skin, and it just blends right in and looks like it came that way. So that made that knife a lot more comfortable. And then I picked up this LionSteel Kur, which is a beast. Uses Sleipner tool steel to a Rockwell hardness of 60 or 61 or something like that. G10 handles, reversible pocket clip, ball bearings, just a really, I mean, look at the size of that blade stock compared to like the Gecko. It's just a really beefy, brawny knife. But then I saw another one that was a little fancier and a little more interesting to me. And I thought in some ways might make an actual better EDC because it's smaller and lighter, and it's got some really cool features. So what we have is from LionSteel, of course. Let's move these out of the way. I went with the ROK. And the first thing I noticed here, I've seen in other reviews as well, is this has an NFC chip or something in here. So you just hold your phone over it, and it automatically brings up the website, grabs the serial number, all that stuff, and says, hey, do you want to register your knife? Here's all the specs and information. You just gotta go boop, and your phone does it. I can't show that in action because my phone is what's actually doing the recording. This time I'm doing it in 4K, so it may take a little longer to render on YouTube because they are horrifically slow rendering 4K video. But I figured, for a knife this nice, I wanted to get that little extra detail. So what do you get in the packaging? It's very well packaged and secure, doesn't bounce around. You've got the knife, Over here, you've got, let's see, what do we got? We got the little tool, and I'll show you what that's for, and there's a little set screw in there. But this is the ROK. This is the one that won a Knife of the Year. A couple neat features about it is an integral flipper. By that I mean the handle is one solid piece. There's no seam, there's no sandwiched together scales. See, like here, you've got individual scales, which means then you need standoffs or something like that. You've got screws holding it together, things like that. When you take it apart, there's just more moving parts. So when you think about the structural integrity, they took a block of billet aluminum. They do have a titanium version, but it's about 150 bucks more. Didn't want that. Wanted the lightweight of the aluminum. And so what they've done is they've taken one billet piece of aluminum and then they've CNC machined it all out. So that is one solid piece. There is no flex. There's no need for a standoff. There's no need for extra screws and worrying about stripping them because they use too much Loctite and any of that kind of crap. It is one piece of metal, that handle. Out of that, they've milled out a frame lock, and they've got the steel insert, which also has the detent, and that provides your lockup. If you have to take it apart and you want to loosen it, basically you take that screw out. That doesn't, you don't have to worry about trying to hold the other side. That is obviously not being round. That is keyed, so that sits stationary. You just loosen that, take that out, and everything just slides out the end. Now getting it back together can be a little tricky. You almost take, once you've taken that out, you might want to put your finger or even just like a little wedge of cardboard just to push that out a couple thousandths of an inch, just separate it just a little bit, just to give you that extra room to slide the washer, the bearings and the washers. This has bearings and there's washers that sit on top of the bearings so that the bearings are wearing on the steel washers, not on the aluminum, so it doesn't wear a groove into the aluminum and introduce blade play over time. But some really neat features. First of all, whereas my Kerr has Sleipner steel, which is a very tough, hard-use tool steel, not so great for corrosion resistance. So if you're out there getting it wet, you probably want to wipe it down with the oily rag and just make sure that you keep it clean. And that'll provide many, many years of good use. But here's some interesting things about this. Apart from it just being one piece, which is kind of cool, it's got good flipper action. Detent's decent. I got to sit here, I have to wear it in just a little bit so it starts to wear in that ball bearing onto the, wherever it rubs along the blade there. But a couple neat things. So one is it has this because it's aluminum, but you see this on other knives that are steel or titanium, you want to make sure that you don't over push it this way and start losing some of that spring tension where it doesn't want to lock into place as well. So there's a stop there. However, what they've done is they've included what they call Rotoblock. If you rotate that down, quarter turn, you can't unlock the blade now. You've essentially created a fixed blade. And so between that lock bar being pretty beefy and locked in there, you can't move it out of the way now because it's also this integral handle, so it's all one piece. This makes for a very strong, structurally strong, hard-use knife. Not that I'm going to take a really nice knife like this and beat and baton on it, but if you had to, you probably could. So that you just flip it, and it's stiff enough that you're not gonna lock it or unlock it in the normal course of using the knife. You got to make a pronounced effort. But if you were going to use it for something heavy duty, you can just lock that. So that's kind of cool. The other thing is this is removable. You say, why would I want to remove that? Well, there are countries, and I don't think there's any states that don't allow flippers, but there are certain countries that are, kind of weenies about their knife laws. And they say, if it's a one-handed opening, then it can't be locked, or if it's a lock back, it can't be one-handed opening. It doesn't matter. If you're going to stab someone with a knife, however you open it, it doesn't really matter at that point. But politicians very rarely know what it is that they're passing legislation on. They just find something scary that they're not that familiar with and pass a law. So if you're in one of those countries, this tool here actually removes that set screw, so you can actually remove that flipper. Just a nice option so that they don't have to make two different knives for two different markets. This blade is Bohler M390. ROK hardness is 59 to 60. Blade thickness is 4.5 millimeters. So it's again a beefy blade. It's got a really nice edge on it. We'll do a sharpness test on a piece of magazine paper in a moment. But it is very sharp. Does sit in the hand. Really comfortable to feel it and grip it hard in the hand. The blade is, as I mentioned, Bohler M390. The blade is 3.39 inches. Handle is 4.41 for an overall 7.8. So right in that sweet spot between 3.25 and 3.5. Perfect for, you know, a larger size, but still very pocket friendly EDC. Even though this is all metal, there's no plastic G10 anything on here. It's only 4.5 ounces, so it's not super light. It's not a bug out by any means, but it's still in that four-ish, between 4 and 5 ounces range, which again, I find nice for, I wanted to take that little bit of extra weight. We're talking about an ounce, to have, you know, so much heavy duty and good quality steel and all that. The thing that I found most interesting about it, besides just this beautiful machining and all the stuff that they do here, is the pocket clip design. You may be looking, saying, where's the pocket clip? You know, when I look at here, I've got this wire spring one that's very easily reversible to the other side. And that's a nice high ride. I keep saying high ride in my videos. I meant it's a deep carry pocket clip. You don't want the knife riding high. You want it riding deep. Same thing here. This one's not a deep carry. And neither is this, but they use, you know, more traditional pocket clips. This is a bit innovative. Pocket clip is recessed. Sits flush. You push this button, it's spring loaded. So as you put it in your pocket, you just kind of do it like that, slide it in the pocket, and that clips it in place. And as you draw it out, as soon as the fabric clears that, it goes gunk and falls back into place. It is now inside the handle. So when you're using this, there is no hot spot. Now some knives are better than others. You can feel that. It's not much of a hot spot. This one here, not too much of a hot spot, but after a while, you know, that might dig into your hand, give you a little blister. Same thing here. They've done a good job at trying to minimize the impact by giving you something, you know, that works as a pocket clip. But by its very nature, the pocket clip's going to be in the way. If you have a pocket clip, it's on the grip. It's where you're gripping the panel. And so all the nice contours and everything else that they do here to make it comfortable, and then you got a piece of metal sticking out, almost 1/4 inch. So, you know, this, once you pull that out, you don't feel anything. It's flat. It goes out of the way. When you grip it, there's literally no hot spot. That just blends right into the handle. You've got a nice EDC. You got the flipper acting as a finger stop. If you really wanted to get some hard use out of this, you lock it in the open position. And for all intents and purposes, now you've got a small pocket-sized fixed blade. So very, very cool. Very impressed with this. I've been wanting one for a while. Do a little sharpness test. Oh yeah. I mean, look at that. You can just shave a little sliver at a time. I mean, that is a really sharp knife right out of the box. The push test, this paper is always kind of hard because it's like, you know, once you get it started, the edge wants to curl. Very few knives I have will actually just do the push test without starting it. But it does just push straight through. I mean, so anyway, that is a, whoops, very, I don't know why I get on some edges, but then when I go to this side, it'll cut just fine. It's always weird how it does that. So did I get a little bit of stuff on the edge of the blade? Yeah. It's a very sharp knife. So, you know, I'm sure there's always room for improvement. I've got a stropping kit and stuff like that. But right out of the box, pretty much hair popping sharp. I wouldn't feel that and think that I need to actually do anything to it. But, yeah, very cool knife. That's the ROK. I'll put it down here for a size comparison. I've given you the stats. We'll use the old PM2 as the standby because probably everybody's got a damn PM2. So you're looking at just a wee bit smaller. Right in line, a little smaller than the Tasso. So a lot of these are 3.5-inch blades. I think my Gecko is all, which again, this is H.WAYL, but I have a feeling this is made by MKM, who is the same company that makes LionSteel. I think that that's who H.WAYL contracted to make that for them. But you're looking at just about the same length. It's a little taller, but you're looking at very similar weight, actually lighter because this is steel and micarta. This is actually, even though this one has a thicker blade, this is actually with those steel liner locks, the steel lock bar in the back. There's a lot more metal of heavier metal, steel in that one. It's definitely lighter than the Kerr. But just as the size comparison, I mean, it's right in there. I mean, my EDC knives, I tend to like in that 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 range. That gives me a little bit of a bigger, because I do have big hands. So I tend to gravitate towards those EDCs, but it's right in there. I mean, it's perfect. It's a little, I mean, it's definitely a little smaller than some of these. So, but not much. Still, I get a full hand, reverse grip just fine. Thumb rolls over it naturally. There's no, there's knives that come with the glass breakers and things. And I don't know who's ever actually popped out a car window with one. I think it's kind of cool. It's like, oh, it's there. It's nice to have. But a lot of times you have that there. And if you are using a reverse grip, you can't really put a lot of pressure on there because that carbide tip is now pointing right into your thumb. So this is very nice. It's contoured perfectly. Really is a nice little knife. The blade almost drops free, but again, that'll wear in as that detent. I may even put a drop of oil in there, but it's definitely, it's not going to come undone on its own. It's got a nice strong detent. Flipping action's nice. It's crisp. It feels quality. You flip some knives and it's just like clanky. That is just a very nice, smooth, without being overly loose and flippy and all that. I mean, if you like to fidget with it, maybe you'd like it a little looser, something like that, that kind of just falls loose. But yeah, anyway, you've got the specs. Here you can see how it compares to others. I think it's a really cool knife. I've been wanting one of these for a while. Decided I treat myself when I crossed over 1,000 and was able to monetize. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get some money from the Googles and help pay for some of this stuff and do some more. But that is just, let's see if I can get to focus in. I mean, just the level of machining in detail on this thing. They have done just a really good job. Come on, focus. Just maybe get it too close. One of these days, maybe I'll get a better camera instead of just using my... Well, no, the Galaxy Note 20 does have a pretty nice camera. But that is, to me, is a beautiful blade. It's a drop point, but almost down to a spear point with a nice swedge on the back. A little bit of jimping here. Not a lot of traction. It's there. I'm guessing you use it, but it's not like that, where that actually is got some grip. Same thing here. That little ramp there actually gives you some grip. This one has a little bit there, but again, it's LionSteel. So it's there, but it's almost like they're checking a box. They're so far apart and so rounded that while the jimping's there, it's almost more cosmetic than anything. It's not really giving you the traction of a knife like this. So, but overall, I really like this. This is going to make its way high into my rotation. It's definitely a very cool, well put together knife. So if you haven't checked out LionSteel or MKM, they make the Viper line. MKM, I think, might be the parent company. LionSteel is some of the knives they make. They make a few knives for H.WAYL. They make knives for Viper and some of the other Italian brands. I would give them a look. This is my workhorse. I would put this up against a zero tolerance any day. This is kind of just a heavy duty tool steel meant to get the job done and beat the shit out of it. But if you want something that's really nice and just has that eye candy factor and just the really cool pocket clip, this is the ROK, R-O-K. You can get them at different price points. I've seen them down to $209. If you want titanium and some of the different colors and stuff, I mean, they've got a red handle, black handle. They've got titanium, bare titanium. They've got both aluminum and titanium handles. So the titanium's going to be a little stronger, I guess, but also you pay more for it. And, it's also heavier. Titanium weighs about twice as much. Still less than steel, but it does weigh more than aluminum. I wanted something that was really pocket friendly, so that's why I went with the aluminum. Definitely give them a look, man. This is a great knife. And it would be a nice addition to the collection. So there you have it. Everybody have a good day.